One. Good afternoon. My name is Wendy Keiver. I'm the Executive Director with Alberta School Councils Association, and I'm pleased to be joined here this afternoon by Becky Kallal, who is the Parliamentarian for Alberta School Councils Association. We've asked Becky to put together a couple of information videos for our members to help them understand the AGM process, or our regular general meeting processes, a little bit better. And we're going to begin with Becky giving an explanation as to what a parliamentarian is and what a parliamentarian does. So with that, I'm going to let Becky take it over.
Thanks very much, Wendy. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So I'll start with, what is a parliamentarian? Parliamentarian is really quite an interesting term. Here in Canada, or actually Britain, or any country that has a governing body that is referred to as a parliament, in any of those places, the term usually refers to an elected member of that parliament, a parliamentarian. However, in our context, the word parliamentarian is borrowed from its more American usage, where it refers more broadly to a person who has demonstrated knowledge of parliamentary procedure and who has passed an examination to become a member of an association like the National Association of Parliamentarians, or maybe the American Institute of Parliamentarians, or who has passed examinations to become certified or registered with one of those associations. So ordinarily, the work of a parliamentarian falls into one of 4 different categories. And I'm just going to go through those 4 for you. First off, drafting and interpreting bylaws. As you will probably all know, bylaws define the structure, the governance, the rights, and the responsibilities of an organization and its members. Bylaws specify the rules that may be unique to an organization and that can't be suspended just by a motion. And of course, they must be compliant with any laws of the, in our case, the province that govern the organization. Parliamentarians are often asked to help an organization in drafting, revising, or interpreting bylaws. I find that over the years, I have developed a real interest in this type of work, which I never had when I first started out, both in policy writing and in bylaw revision. It can be quite absorbing. The second area is giving parliamentary opinions. Parliamentarians are often asked by organizations to review the organization's governing documents, their policies and their bylaws, and to provide an opinion as to how to proceed to accomplish a particular objective, or even if it's possible to do so without a change to those documents. Like many people who serve as parliamentarians, I get calls or emails looking for advice related to what an organization can or can't do according to their documents fairly regularly, often because the organization wants to see their way through a sticky situation, probably that they didn't anticipate at the time that they wrote their bylaws. With the COVID right now, the proliferation or the need to have e-meetings is a perfect example. Most organizations didn't have anything in bylaws about how to have e-meetings, and the voting procedures that were around would be around those. I do like this role because it can be a real challenge to determine not just what can or can't be done. Often there's more than one way to interpret documents. There's often plenty of room for flexibility. Even with motions, I should mention that there is often more than one motion that can be used to accomplish the very same thing. Parliamentary procedure is not an exact science, and this really is something that can keep it very interesting for parliamentarians and for people involved in various aspects of meetings. So The third area of work that parliamentarians typically work in is one aspect of meeting and convention planning. That aspect is that sometimes people aren't sure, people in groups aren't sure how to organize maybe the agenda or what protocols are important to follow. A parliamentarian can help with aspects like that. They can help with the preparation of perhaps scripts for part of the meeting or the convention, with credential reporting, with election forms, with processes like particular motions that you know you're going to run up against, with bylaw amendments that have to go through a convention, with running the elections in an AGM, for example. And if you haven't done that before, or if your organization hasn't done any of those things for some time, a parliamentarian can usually help. This might be my least favorite role, but it does have some high points too. I have just worked with a newly formed national foundation, and they had never had an annual general meeting before. So it was like starting from scratch, and I did find that quite interesting. And the final role is the one that you see me at Alberta School Council Association. And it's really my favorite role, and that is serving as parliamentarian at meetings and conventions. In this role, parliamentarians or people serving as the parliamentarian is to be a resource to the chair, to assist the chair in the conduct of the meeting. The chair themselves should know the rules of the meeting. The parliamentarian is always there to act as a second set of eyes and ears to help the chair to avoid missing important things. The parliamentarian sits right beside the chair to give help and guidance and support during the meeting. The chair can and should consult the parliamentarian when they're not sure on how to rule on something or proceed in a particular situation. However, it is the chair who makes all of the rulings, not the parliamentarian. The parliamentarian serves in an advisory capacity only, without any authority. The chair is the one who has the authority. It's also worth noting that the parliamentarian is required to be impartial and unbiased. The parliamentarian is never an advocate for the chair or for any particular position. The excitement of this role comes from the fact that you never know what you will encounter at a meeting or a convention. Of course, this is also where the stress for the person serving as parliamentarian can come in. No matter how well you prepare, there will always be some surprises. I especially enjoy this role when I'm working at a meeting or a convention of groups that I consider, in my mind, to be friendlies. And the Alberta School Council Association definitely falls into that category. And by this, I mean that if I make an error or give the chair poor advice and realize it, I always feel that I can correct it to the assembly and say, oh, let me correct that, or this was my fault. I would like to revise the advice that I gave and fix the error, and I don't feel that the assembly will tear me to pieces. Not all assemblies are as friendly or as forgiving. I always feel that with groups like this, I am able to learn and develop myself along with the chair and along with the assembly. So finally, why do I enjoy serving as a parliamentarian? Well, I mentioned a bit about what I like about each area, but I'd like to conclude with some general comments about parliamentarians. Some parliamentarians make their living doing this type of work. Generally, they have designations such as registered parliamentarians or professional registered parliamentarians, indicating that they have passed examinations, difficult examinations, and that they keep their credentials active in a number of ways. Often these people publish articles, and they might serve a wide variety of clients, including government agencies, corporate boards, elected and not-for-profit boards, and so on. I really admire these folks because they have a great depth of parliamentary knowledge and also usually vast experience, or they're gaining a vast experience to go along with it. They're very committed to the craft. Others just serve as parliamentarians only occasionally, sometimes in just their own church group or their own service group, donating their time or earning just very small honoraria. And this is nowhere near their livelihood. Most of my work in this area has been with boards that are in service to others. Alberta School Council Association being a perfect example. Everyone involved is doing this work for the betterment of students and schools. Other examples that I've been involved with are not-for-profit boards, post-secondary student groups, church groups, and community groups, and so on. So these are boards full of people who I admire for the work that they're doing, and also who I think are, their groups are making society better overall through their work. So by helping these groups to have better meetings, I feel the satisfaction of being able to contribute to this wide variety of work for the betterment of society in my own little way. Thank you.
That is terrific, Becky, and we are certainly grateful as an association to you for being willing to serve as our parliamentarian, and also for being willing to put together these little videos so that we can all have a better understanding of the process and the role of the parliamentarian. So thank you very much for doing this with us this afternoon, and everyone, look for Becky's next video, which is what to know going into an AGM. Thanks very much. See you soon.